might get kind of feisty. We'll see.
All right, let's get into it. I hope you got your boxing gloves on, man. I'm ready for it.
Mm.
Or first topic, let's get into it, man. The media, they came out with some prediction on what the Pac-12 would look like this year. They had USC winning the Pac-12 South. They had Oregon winning the Pac-12 North. They made rankings of every Pac-12 team, having Oregon at 1, USC at 2, Arizona State at 3, and Utah at 4. Nathan, what were your initial reaction to this ranking?
My initial reaction was that Utah is way too high. I'm just so completely out on this team. We've talked with our wonderful producer, Sam, about how last year Utah's defense got all this hype. They got all this credit. But against good teams, when they were playing games that actually mattered against quality opponents, quality offenses, they weren't really that impressive of a group. Now Tyler Huntley's gone. Zach Moss is out. And to me, it seems like USC's only competition in the Pac-12 South is going to be Arizona State. I could see UCLA finishing in third place. I don't know. I just don't think – I think Utah is going to be – again, no games are really cakewalks for USC except probably Arizona. But that game should be probably about as easy as it's going to come for the Trojans. And, yeah, I don't see Utah being anywhere near that competitive. The top three – Oregon, USC, Arizona State. We can talk about the latter two when I state my case later on in this show. The top three seem like pretty much consensus. USC, Oregon, kind of a toss-up for the top spot. I could see SC coming to claim the Pac-12 title, but as of now, as of where things stand now, based on how last season went, based on the projections for this season, it's kind of hard to knock Oregon from that number one slot.
Man, forget about all that, man. I don't want to hear about last season. I want to hear about the present, and that's what got me, man, because it was funny. They had Oregon ranked as the first team in the Pac-12, but they also predicted USC would usurp Oregon and win the Pac-12, and they don't tend to miss with those sorts of things. But it was interesting to me that Oregon usurped USC for that number one ranking, man. When I'm looking at Oregon, I'm looking at a team that's lost its quarterback in Justin Herbert. Tyler Slaw is a guy that has a lot of talent, but he still has some question marks in terms of whether he's ready for that spotlight. You lost a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball. It's still going to be a really good defense, but you still lost some players. But the biggest key in the cog, and we're going to get into the left tackle that came back to USC this week, but Penei Sewell stayed opted out for Oregon. And that's not a dude that you can replace. He's way too good of a talent. He's going to instantly be a top 5 easy draft pick in this league. When he goes to the NFL, he's going to be one of the better left tackles the second he steps on the field. That's not a guy that's replaceable. When you're looking at a quarterback who's spending the first time of substantial time in the starting role and you don't have a left tackle that you can feel confident in protecting you, I'm not sure that's going to go over well for Tyler Slaw. So I look at that team and I see that's a team that was very good last year, but I look at USC and has almost every single one of their starters coming back with the exception of Christian Rector, Michael Pittman Jr., and who's the last guy I'm forgetting, man? Help me out.
Jay Tufele's out.
Jay Tufele's out, and that's the last one. Yeah, because those were the only 2 seniors. But you already got Brew McCoy, and you have a lot of talented. I was talking to Scott Schroeder earlier this week. That's like the guy when it comes to USC football. He was telling me they have a lot of talented guys on that defensive line. They're going to be able to, there's no replacing a guy like Jay Tufele, but you're going to have some talent and experience at that position to where you're not going to be suffering. And obviously you got a guy like Brew McCoy to come in and step into that Michael Pittman role. I still think the best receiver on that team is Amon-Ra, but now you have a tall, deep threat, a bailout guy for your quarterback like Keaton had last year. I look at this USC team. It makes perfect sense why they would be the best team in the Pac-12. And the only reason why somebody would say Oregon is based on the pedigree that they developed last year. I'm living in the present, man. I'm living in the present, and I see a better team that USC has than Oregon, man.
But this is what Oregon does, right? They lose top talent, and then they just develop guys to take his spot in the next year. I mean, Oregon is a team that churns out talent year in and year out. Losing, probably the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft is going to hurt, but they could easily just as well replace him with a guy that probably not going to be as good, but he's going to be good enough to get the job done. And this is what I'm saying with when I say that USC definitely has the talent and has the potential to get this thing done. But I'm sort of a believe it when you see it kind of guy, right? And I find a hard time going from a team that didn't even win the Pac-12 South last year to all of a sudden calling them the best team in the Pac-12. I get that they didn't lose a ton of talent, although they did lose multiple, NFL draft guys, and replacing them with potential, right? And potential is potential until it's not. And so, to me, it might prove itself in the first couple of weeks, but to me, until I actually see the way that this team functions, the way that the new coaching staff, the almost entirely overhauled coaching staff is operates, whether they're effective, whether they're able to get more out of SC's talent than the last few guys, is all remain to be seen. We don't know if any of that's going to even happen. So I could definitely see USC winning the Pac-12 title. I think that it'll happen. I did my game-by-game predictions for my column this week, and I said USC beats Oregon in the Pac-12 championship. But to say that they're the #1 team in the Pac-12 right now seems like a bit of a stretch.
Well, this is another thing I was talking about with Mr. Schroeder, is that USC's primary problem last year, you know what it was. It's the defense. The offense is going to be what it is. You have Keaton Slovis, you have Graham Harrell, you have a boatload of talented wide receiver threats. You're going to have a really good offense, and that team's easily putting up 30-plus points per game this year. The defense is what's the problem. And what'd you do? You brought in a defensive coordinator who's known for making quick turnarounds. Even if USC is not as bad as they were last year, they don't have to be one of the top defenses in the country. They just can't be the 100th worst defense in the country. That's something that can't happen. If you get the top 50 even defense, that's substantially changing the scope and the ceiling for this USC team, man. So I definitely think that there's a lot of potential there. And so long as the defense makes the quick turnaround, you got the talent to do it. Obviously, you're going to lose out to failure, but you got what I think is going to be a first-round draft pick in Drake Jackson. You got pretty good talent on in Chris Steele and Elijah Griffin. You have damn good talent in the back end when you talk about Hufanga and the other safety. I'm forgetting his name now. Man, I got to get better at this. Yeah, Polamalu. Thank you. They have so much good range and safety in that secondary, man. You have some pretty solid linebackers. I think that this team is going to be not easily, I won't go that far, but it's going to be the Pac-12 best team. And I'm not sure Oregon, is in the same pedigree. I'm not sure Oregon's in the same pedigree, just simply because you have guys that have been there and done that. Whereas Oregon, they're almost in the position that USC was in last year. A lot of young guys who kind of need to learn the ropes a little bit more.